Oh, you already caused that in the meeting chat.
Yeah, and in this case, since I didn't hand out paper copies inside the room, you'll be able to see the any changes and edits as I'm making them.
See, we're going green, people.
Okay, so I guess welcome everybody to the first attempt at doing this meeting on an online platform instead of in a meeting room. I guess trying to get modern and get with the times and all that stuff. As usual, there is the agenda, and there are several updates on that agenda. And please go ahead and read those updates. If you have questions, you can post them either here in the Discord inside the text channel labeled meeting. The text channel labeled meeting. You'll see it above the voice channels. Or you can post your questions in the in the YouTube chat. Either one will be fine, and the moderators that I have assigned will see those questions and bring them to my attention. Otherwise, I will leave everybody for a few minutes to go ahead and read the questions of their own accord, or on their at their own pace. Once again, for those who just came in, we are leaving a few minutes here for people to read through the updates and bring any questions regarding those updates before we bring it to a more open discussion.
And for those on YouTube, the description contains the link as well.
No, Blizz, I'm sorry. We cannot host a con-sponsored day drinking panel because that would bankrupt the con.
Darn.
Isn't every day a day drinking panel?
Not everybody at the convention engages in day drinking. Most do, but not everybody. And meanwhile, while everybody's reading the updates, I hope that everybody is feeling healthy and staying well, and either still employed or able to capture unemployment in the meantime while trying to figure out what the heck we're going to do in the future. And I just hope that Nevada continues to do what it can to get that curve flattened out so that we can maybe be able to actually host the con when October rolls around. I happen to also be furloughed right now for the next approximately 6 weeks, but so far unemployment's doing what it's supposed to do, and I'm not really hurting or worried too much at the moment.
That's good. I'm still fighting the unemployment office.
Well, hopefully that goes smoothly.
Same.
Blizz, would you be you mentioned getting media badges done on a limited run or special card stock. Do you think maybe you could come up with a design for that you think would look appropriate and be easy to see? There was also a separate question about identifying just simple fandom photographers that are not basically just a way to tell the rest of the congoers, no, this person is not a professional journalist.
Are you basically saying have one for media, one for just regular photography?
Yeah, more or less. We could probably go ahead and unmute Blizz for that if he wants to just answer in voice instead of in text.
Well, you don't want to overcomplicate it, because if you have, the more badges you add, the more things people have to remember. If you just add like media badges for media personnel only, that's easy to pick out. But let's say you have a pink for that and a blue for just con going photographers, you might as well just scratch the blue one because they're already part of the con. You can tell by the badge they're wearing.
If you want.
Also, Tycho, tell me when a good time to slip in updates about the changes between where we're hosting dealers this year for the second floor. I actually have a lot to go over that with you.
Okay, we can have that in the discussion after we go through the updates.
Okay.
Alluding to what Frosty just said in the chat toward Blizz, yeah, the problem was people, just general congoers with decent cameras getting harassed or being having other congoers concerned that person was some kind of professional journalist instead of just another congoer. So that's what we need to try to clear up, is to make that either fix the policies to say, hey, if the person has a con badge, they've already agreed and you don't need to worry about it, or otherwise start issuing some kind of yes, this person is a known con goer and maybe they have a decent looking camera, but we're not concerned about them, just badge of some sort. One of those two solutions.
The thing I see being a problem with that is normally information that would be pertinent to displaying a new badge or informing people what that badge is for if they're, not media associated, would happen during opening ceremonies. And we don't have full attendance coming to opening ceremonies every time. So that information has to spread by word of mouth. By the time it's actually spread, the con's nearly over. So I would say
that information can be in the policies too.
It's very true.
The simplest solution there is to just buy the ribbons that say the word photographer that people can stick underneath their badge, that you can buy from Marco Promotions or various other places. That's perfectly fine to just use ribbons, and then there's no special badge, it's just an add-on underneath the badge. That would be fine too.
I had about 12 of those photographer badges in the HR kit last year, and I did give those to photographers, but we did run out, so we would need.
Yeah, we would need to come up with a designated place to actually dispense those from instead of them just ending up in a random tub somewhere.
I've had a horrible idea.
How about you keep that horrible idea to yourself?
No, you take that idea and you stuff it way deep down inside you where it can't get out.
Fair enough. But they are factually photographers.
Menefis points out that a photography ribbon may not stand out because there are so many other ribbons. I might counter that somebody who cares about being a photographer and cares about not having other people concerned about their photography would probably limit themselves to just that ribbon, or we could ask that they do so that it's more easily seen. And Frosty, we can make 80 media badges. There's nothing that says we can't make a lot more badges that say media. It's just, I don't know how much Blizz wants to allow those to move out, right? I think he wanted to use those to highlight people who are professional media, not fan media. So 2 different badges, but then that's more things for our Concourse or our staff to identify. Pluses and minuses on all those options.
Suggestion I just heard was make it day glow paint. So very bright.
To Amenephas's point, there are so many individual like ribbons, and people bring their own too and give them away to friends, that any color is not going to stand out if somebody has a stack of 5 or 6 ribbons underneath their badge. It's just not possible to pick any sort of color that would actually stand out for sure. But all I really care about is there being some kind of indicator that will be consistent.
FC last year or year before that had like physical like plastic print badges that had a photographer printed on them, I believe.
Yeah, I mean that's also possibly an option, or laminated badges too that we make ourselves if it's a small number. Any of those are options, but we just need to come up with a solution. Blizz, I'm going to leave it up to you to decide what that solution should be, and we'll go with whatever it is you decide.
Blizz, you should be able to talk. I'm not sure if you're just muting yourself.
Blizz, they did force push to talk on this channel, so you are going to have to find your push to talk key and turn that on. Are there any other questions regarding the updates on the agenda, either in here or on the YouTube chat?
Is this happening at all with me?
Hey, we hear you now, Cody.
Yep. So Cody, the spaces that we need to clear out by Sunday night, and it's by the very, very end of Sunday night. So we still get to use the spaces all day Sunday. We just have to be out by midnight, or I'm asking to see if we're still going to ask to see if we can get another hour or 2 after midnight, depending on what they're doing.
Be cleared out on Sunday night.
Those spaces that we need to be out of on Sunday night are going to be the 2 big upstairs spaces. So the space that is normally main stage and the space that is normally second stage, or has been for the last couple of years, which means that main space that normally has been main stage for the last couple of years either can't be main stage, or main stage has to break down on Saturday night, which I think would be pretty disappointing. Probably better off just moving main stage to a different room temporarily for the year. So I think there's still some discussion that needs to happen to decide exactly what moves where, but I think the general consensus is that take the downstairs functions, move them upstairs, take the upstairs functions, move them downstairs. Because we know that Dealer's Den breaks itself down by the end of Saturday night. All the dealers move out. And the hangout space downstairs that has been tabletop gaming, it was 2 years ago. I don't think it was last year. I believe it was 2 years ago in 2018 that we had to clear out of that room on on Sunday night. And that worked out fine. And we were able to do that reasonably well.
I believe that was last year.
Was that just last year? Okay, I just couldn't remember. So the big question is on the side rooms: what stays downstairs, what moves upstairs. And right now, I'm kind of thinking about leaving all the side rooms the same way they have been in the past years, and just swapping the stuff in the two big rooms for each other. It also kind of makes a mess of the festival, because now we don't have those two side-by-side big rooms that we can use for the festival, and we basically have to condense the entire festival down into just the main stage room, which is okay. It's kind of a mess, but I think it's still doable.
I would imagine there would be more than enough room for that in the downstairs hall, even with the main stage set up.
Right, yeah, there should be. All of the four main convention spaces in the GSR are all pretty much the same size if you merge together all the breakouts. The Nevada room and all its breakouts is about the same size as the Silver State Pavilion, and that's about the same size as the Summit Pavilion, and that's about the same size as the Grand Ballroom. They're all about 40,000 square feet. So, swapping the Dealer's Den for the main stage still leaves both of those things about the same amount of space, and swapping the hangout space with second stage also still leaves both of those things about the same amount of space, roughly.
Are they each the same as far as sound insulation and stuff like that, or does that not matter?
If anything, having main stage down in the Silver State Pavilion might actually be better, because that room has its own ceiling and is not really connected to the rest of the building in any other way. It's kind of its own separate little space.
No base going up to the 19th floor, so to speak.
Hopefully not. Blizz, if you're still muted on the meeting hall, you may have to just leave, and you may have to just disconnect and rejoin. Or just leave and rejoin. Doesn't there something about that, Josie?
Yeah, you just have to change channel and come back in if the permission didn't update.
Oh yeah, that's right. Just switch to some other channel and switch back into this one.
And now you can talk.
And now you're unmuted. Yep.
Hey, you guys are awesome. Okay, so my quick preference, just to get it out of the way because we moved on from my thing, would be a standalone media badge for media and a sticker for fan media. That way we can quickly and easily sort them out of the crowd.
Sticker or ribbon?
Can we tie a balloon to their cameras?
I would prefer to do that, honestly. I don't think many of them would like that. I was thinking maybe something cheap and easy, which is just like a pink or a blue or even a shiny metallic sticker, like a circle sticker, we can stick on their badge. Like a small half-inch round metallic silver or metallic gold or pearl or whatever sticker we can stick in the top.
Okay. Yeah, I don't have any objections either way. I just wanted to know what you wanted us to go order and find. Maybe if you can hunt down the product that you'd like us to order. I assume we'd probably need a few hundred of them. Will last us a few years, probably. And then the other question is who dispenses those particular stickers for the people who are like, they have a camera, but they're not actually doing anything for any sort of media outlet.
Wouldn't that be nice to just have at the ConOps window?
So I want to screen them to a certain extent because I don't want anyone with a T6i to roll up and be like, I need special treatment. You need to have something that requires setup, either a microphone, lighting. You have a telephoto lens that requires you to be seated flat to stabilize, things like that. That's usually how I.
Okay, but also most people don't know that. You said T6 something or other, and all I heard were letters and numbers. I don't know camera equipment. Who's to say the people who are going to be handing out
grade DSLR.
Again, I don't know camera stuff. Not many people do unless they're super into camera stuff. Like, what's to if you want like to pre-screen people, like you have to pre-screen people.
Well, right, Blizz is already doing that. So the problem we're trying to solve is just people who have a camera that looks professional, but they are not planning on doing anything for any sort of media, be it fan media or professional media. And those people have requested that there be some way for us to mark them as, yes, we know this person has a camera. Yes, we can trust this person. Stop worrying about them. And Amenephis, I'm not sure why, but you are triggering on and off randomly, and I think it's triggering what I'm saying. So either you're holding your push to talk button or you somehow have it turned on.
I just put a link in the chat for a sticker that we could use for fan media. They're small, unobtrusive.
Oh yeah, I use these at work for labels.
That way we know if someone has that on their badge. I've screened them and they're okay as fan media. It's quick, it's easy, and they're not easy to get on the cheap or fast that you could reproduce them at the convention.
Right. So the problem there is, since it doesn't say anything, it still doesn't really say that person, yes, has been screened. It's like people would have to know what specific thing to look for. And then we'd have to declare that ahead of time in the con policies. If it's self-explanatory sticker, then we don't have that issue.
Well, then we could go straight up with the ribbons that say fan media and just change the colors every year so we know this year is red fan media. If they're rocking a gold or black or whatever fan media, that they haven't been.
That was brought up.
There's also those little sheets of square foil stickers. You can actually laser print on those. So we could just print up a sheet of 2020 and then next year print a sheet of 2021, etc.
And then when it's applied to the badge, score the sticker with a razor blade and an X. That way it can't be peeled off easy.
I think we're way overcomplicating this.
It just needs to be straightforward.
Yeah. And I get that we're not changing the process for what you want to do for fan media or for professional media. I would want that process to stay the same.
Yeah, professional media, I would far and beyond prefer that we have something much, much, much more visible.
Is the current, like, we only had like 8 of them or something like that. Is the current badge that we have acceptable, or do you want something more visible than that?
No, the standalone badge is fine as long as we make sure we clarify with them that they need to wear it separate from the convention badge, which we also required them to get.
Yeah, we would just tell them wear it on top of the convention badge.
Yeah, that's fine. And then I just dropped another link to the square stickers we can laser print on, except they're still in a roll, but I get the concept. Yeah, that we can laser print the year on them so we know, like, oh, they have a fan media 2020 square sticker.
Yeah. You can get those same kind of stickers in laser printable sheets instead of on rolls.
I would be 100% okay with that as long as we make sure we clarify and do a social media blast, etc. That if you want to be fan media, there are certain limitations. Like you need equipment that sets up, or you need to be flat in order to get photographs, and you have to email media first in order to get cleared. We're not just going to give you a sticker. And that way we can tell if they don't have a sticker, that means, oh, they have a big beefy camera. They don't have a sticker. Well, that runs into the problem where we don't know if they've been screened at all. So I got to do a little thinking.
Yeah, it's that problem of not knowing if they've been screened at all. That's the problem we're trying to solve. And the problem that other congoers would like us to solve, so that they can know that the person has been screened and is not somebody they need to worry about anymore.
Then I'm okay with using the stickers to show, like, oh, you have a big beefy DSLR, but you're not media, and then maybe we can use different colored ribbons and order, I don't know, 200 for the year for fan media. We'll never use that much, but let's say 100 for the year for fan media and 50 for commercial media or news media, and we'll just give news media to news media and fan media to fan.
Okay. I'll leave it up to you to think that through and decide what makes sense.
Okay, yeah, we'll just have to figure out a way to make it separate from a big, like, string of ribbons on a badge. Like, we'll have to make them put it sideways or...
That can be done. We can print them that way so that they only read when they are put on sideways. That's an option.
That'd be great, yeah. If they print vertical, that way you stick them sideways on the badge, and we say, oh, this is a fan media, this is a news media, and then you can put your, I don't know, Cub Club ribbons or whatever down further down. But it's just, you know, they're different. The vertical ones are vertical and the horizontal ones.
Yep. Well, that's fine. Okay, moving on. So nobody has any other, well, so we have the discussion about, or we will have to have our discussion here coming up, not in this meeting, but soon, regarding what makes sense in terms of moving things around in the convention space. I don't want to do that with this many people because that's just going to turn into just that nothing's ever going to get decided that way. But with a smaller group of people that have to actually deal with the fallout is where I want to go with that.
Do you have an inkling when we want to host that?
I'll think about it. Probably, I'd like to get it figured out soon. We're not in a huge rush to do it, but I want to get it figured out. The sooner we get it figured out, the sooner we stop having to think about it.
Yeah, I actually have a lot I need to go over about that with you when we get the time.
Okay. Actually, you and I can probably talk about that after this meeting is over, if you want to express your concerns to me, and then where you think we have pitfalls that we have to figure out how to address. Because I'm sure there are many.
They are numerous.
Oh, okay. Otherwise,
I have a quick update if you want to.
Yeah, go ahead.
Just in terms of volunteers, since we announced the change, we've actually only had about 4 people who have come forward and said, we can't make it, please remove our applications. And we've actually had that many as well go and say, oh, now I can make it, here's my application. So we're actually doing okay in terms of volunteers.
Okay, so at least in the volunteer world, the now I can come are basically taking the place of the I can no longer comes.
For the moment, I do need to get with Crash and kind of go through a list of who's requested a refund but still has an application on file, both for recruits and staff, and see. That's probably going to change the number significantly, but we'll look into.
Okay, I think that's kind of roughly what's happening with registration too. That like the people who are dropping out are just being replaced by other people who now suddenly can make the date. I kind of anticipated that would be somewhat what would happen. And like I said in the updates, it's hard to even really guess what's going to happen to registration, whether it's going to go down or it might even go up, depending on how long it's been since people have been able to go to a con by the time our con rolls around, and how many other opportunities they've had. And a lot of it's so far so in flux that it's just too hard to tell right now.
I have only heard positive reactions of people being super excited for this to be over Halloween.
Oh yeah, the thirst is going to be very real if we end up being close to the first con able to.
Right, and I'm certainly hoping if these shutdowns don't last all the way through until like September, October, that's going to be hell on a lot more things than just con going if it stretches out that long. But yeah, that could be how it goes, or it could be that everything will recover, and then there will be more outbreaks that start in like August or September, and then shutdowns will happen again, and then we'll get caught in the next wave of shutdowns. All of these things could happen. So we just have to keep playing it by ear, and I know that we're capable of postponing again if we have to, if yet another outbreak happens or something and causes the venue to close down again temporarily. Let's hope that doesn't happen, obviously, but I think we're capable of handling it if it does.
Has the GSR expressed willingness to not penalize us if we have to roll out to 20?
Yeah, that sounds like that's the way that would go. If it's just if their hands are tied and our hands are tied, then they're not gonna hold our feet to the fire in that regard.
Fair enough. I can't thank them enough for that right now.
Also, Blizzard, as an FYI, in your voice settings, turn up your input delay. It's cutting off the last word of your sentence.
Will do. Thank.
Right around 200 to 300 ms should do it.
There we go.
So I'd also like to just mention in the updates there that, as I've already said in the updates, most of the swag we already have, and it's already in hand or on the way. The light up wristbands that we tried ordering from China and customized actually are already here, even though they shipped direct from China, and I ordered them via Alibaba.com. That was the first thing giving a shot at ordering things that way. These were customized to be longer than typical so that they can fit over a fursuit sleeve instead of a regular person. But that also means that they're too big for a regular person. So either somebody has to take them, if you want to wear them as a regular person, if you're crafty, you can take it apart and cut it down and make it human sized. If you want, that's an exercise left to the owner. Otherwise, they are perfectly reasonable little simple light up wristbands with some stuff laser etched on them, and they look kind of cool.
Are you calling my noodle arms inferior?
I said nothing of the sort. They're just smaller than fursuit arms.
No, they're just leg bands for normal people, not fursuiters.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, they could just be leg bands. That's fine too. But I mean, the point is for them to just
really
be
tight
like
collar.
Miscellaneous light up BS to wear during the dance. Like it's they're cheap and cheerful giveaways. That was what they were intended to be. And they were already on order and they were already paid for before all this shutdown thing happened. So it was too late to put the stop on that. I do have the sling bags and the power banks in hand. They look fine. We will need to I'll need to find a team of people to go through and inspect them. But I'm not really big on doing that yet when we're not supposed to be gathering people together and putting them in the same room. So I'm going to try and hold off on that for a little bit longer. I have gone through and done kind of a cursory check to make sure they didn't short us. And it seems like we have more or less the correct amount of what we ordered. So I'm not concerned about that. Going through and actually inspecting them will take more time and more people that like I said, don't currently want to gather together yet. Well, the sling bags look pretty cool, but and so do the little power banks to go with them. The sling bags happen to have a USB port on them so that you can route the power bank to the outside. They have a little female USB-A, so you can then plug in whatever cord you normally use for your phone and have that on the outside, and then leave the little power bank inside the bag to do its job. These power banks also happen to have solar charging. It's slow, but I just happen to have it, so that's kind of neat, I guess. And you can leave them out in the sun for about a week, and they'll finally be charged.
Still, that's seriously impressive.
Do you or anyone else have a picture of it? I could put it on the stream chat.
I only just got them like yesterday. I haven't had a chance to take a picture yet.
All right.
One of the thoughts that we had, I need to check with either ConOps or see if there's another department that's willing to do this, to keep some of these power banks constantly on the charge and give people the option to just trade a dead one for a charged one at least during the duration of this convention. I would not want to continue doing that for future conventions, but if we've given it away that year, I think it would be a nice service to offer, but I don't know where we can go about doing it or whether we have the manpower to make that happen.
Why? Every room has complimentary wall socket.
I think
right, but if we give people the option to trade a dead one for a full one while they're already downstairs, it's one less elevator trip, and that helps reduce strain on the elevators too.
Can we look at maybe
Go ahead.
I was just going to say, can we look at maybe getting measurements on them? We can maybe convince someone to 3D print a rack for us that we can drop them into, and then just get a charged squid to plug.
That's actually a pretty all right idea.
It's kind of what we do for the radio batteries. I was thinking we just scale it up for power packs instead of radio batteries.
Blizz, your cutoff is still set too short, or maybe you have to leave and re-enter for that setting to take effect. I don't know.
No, that
oh god,
immediately play.
But the trouble with these is they have to receive a micro USB cord to charge, and I don't know if like any sort of 3D printed thing is going to have enough. It's going to be able to allow enough float in the micro USB for it to align correctly and not just end up crashing and mangling things.
Listen, anything works with enough glue.
Don't forget duct tape.
To Cody's point, mentioning charging those power banks ahead of time, we actually don't want to charge them ahead of the con because that turns them into a fire hazard. We want them to stay relatively discharged while in storage for the next several months. We'll probably have to pull them out and do a maintenance charge on them once, sometime around like June, and bring them back up to like 50% and then leave them there. And that is going to be a pain. Actually, it's not as much of a pain because they're solar, so we just lay them all out in the sun for a day and then put them away again. But the other, we don't really want to issue them to people with a full charge necessarily, but there's nothing that says we can't charge like 50 of them and have just like, a small number of them, 25, 50, sitting somewhere that people can trade. So they can just take their dead one and trade it for a charged one. And like I said, I'm leaving that as an option for ConOps or some other department to decide whether or not that is something they can afford the manpower and the space to do. So I guess Frosty already spoke up regarding that. Can you have a chat with Verdauga and or Hawkfeather when you have a moment to decide whether that sounds doable or not?
Those battery manufacturers usually ship them with a 50% charge?
They appear to have arrived with a 20-25% charge, somewhere in that range. I think they're probably supposed to keep them below 20 for shipping.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, most batteries won't exceed 30% capacity when shipped.
I think most like lipos and phones or plans usually 50%.
It might be. I haven't looked up the rules, so I don't know what they're limited to. But I suspect that the rules say that they're supposed to be limited to the kind of the smallest charge that they can tolerate while in shipping, because the less energy that's in the pack, the less of a fire hazard they are.
As long as they don't turn into little Note 7s, it should be okay.
I did get a question earlier regarding the hotel reservations and what we're going to do with the canceled rooms. And I think it's really going to depend on how many cancellations there are. If there's a small number of cancellations, we'll probably just pick a date and open it up for first come, first serve. If there's a large number of cancellations, it might make more sense to do a lottery, or we do another lottery drawing, or not lottery. We can't call it that. Redo another drawing. I'm going to have to kind of play that by ear and see what makes sense, whether another drawing makes more sense or whether just opening it up as first come, first serve. It's also going to depend a lot on whether or not it's mostly kings or if there's actually a substantial number of queen rooms in there, because the kings still never even sold out and they were just open for first come, first serve for the last several weeks before the shutdown happened. And they still hadn't sold out even then. I don't think we ever even got a response back from the Nugget regarding how many people got a room at the Nugget. Like maybe Geens has gotten that now, but I think he was trying at one point and we hadn't even heard back about who's in the Nugget. One thing I do want to do is whoever is in the Nugget block should get first crack at being able to get a GSR room from whatever frees up from cancellations. The people who are willing to take an overflow really deserve to be in the main hotel if they deserve to have first shot at that, I think.
You're not alone in that thought.
I'll poke Geens right now and see if he ever got any answer back from the Nugget.
Something we may want to look into as well is also possibly just opening up to staff in general at some point. I know of a few cases where people have come to me asking for rooms just because whoever's in charge of the room that they were going to be in is no longer coming and can't make the new dates.
Okay, that makes sense. Certainly we should give those people priority access too, obviously.
I also fall into that block.
Probably everybody but Glyph. I don't think Glyph needs a room. He should be okay.
I currently don't have one. You expect me to sleep on the street?
On that note, Glyph, one of the people who is in my room might not be able to make it, so I'll keep you posted.
Okay.
He's a reservist though, and he's the commander of his reserve unit, so whether or not he can make it is dependent on whether they have training.
I'll figure something out. I always do. Plus, I kind of have to be there, so...
I'm sure we could find you a corner somewhere, put down a dog bed.
I'll bring my hammock. I'll just live between the escalators.
Sure, we can work something out with GSR security to allow.
So we haven't heard back from the Nugget yet, which isn't surprising. They're on a skeleton crew, just like the GSR. Right? Everybody, basically all of these places are on skeleton crews and don't really have any manpower to service requests and questions like we've been asking. So I think we're going to have to wait another couple of weeks before we really even have an answer. In that same regard, I asked today about whether the GSR reservations have been transferred to the new dates. And our salesperson already told us, yes, it's done. I haven't heard any explicit confirmation from the actual hotel reservations staff. So until I hear that explicit confirmation from the people who actually would have done the change, I'm going to consider it still pending.
A soft aside, how is Susie? Is she okay?
Yeah, she seems fine. She's furloughed like pretty much everybody else at the GSR right now, but I've been in contact with her a little bit and just personally, and yeah, she sounds like she's doing fine.
Okay, just checking. She's super cool, and I do not want her to be sad. That would make me very upset.
So meanwhile, I don't think there were there any questions in the YouTube chat?
Just general chat.
Okay, I'm actually kind of surprised there aren't more questions regarding the date move, but I guess I must have already just preempted most of those in the agenda. I guess? Question mark.
That, and I suspect a lot of the people that would normally be in the YouTube chat are in this meeting. It's on Discord. But yes, YouTube people, if you have a question, please feel free to ask and we'll read it out.
I do have a question that is not listed in the agenda that should probably be addressed, or rather address it for others. Our current date change to November 29th, or rather October over Halloween, etc. Are we returning to our normal schedule the following year, going back into May?
Well, we're returning to the schedule that we were intended to be on, which actually was expected to move away from May and move to early June at the beginning at 2021. 2021 was supposed to be our first year at a new permanent date of the weekend after Memorial Day. And they're now striving to put us on a permanent date of then, which is usually going to be the first weekend of June. That will occasionally be the last weekend of May, depending on how the calendar happens to land that given any particular year. It's essentially the same weekend that Califer used to be on. So we are supposed to have 2021 still on that date and all future cons on that date. There's also talk about trying to come up with a process for theme creation for conventions 2022 and onward. 21 is already in progress, and the 2019 theme team is already working on the 2021 theme. But then after that, there is no specific assigned team for 2022 and onward. And I want to start getting a process figured out for that too. That's one of the things I'm going to be working on while I'm furloughed here, is trying to start designing that process.
Oh, well, fantastic.
The rough idea is kind of an application sort of process, and if one is not selected, then it can just simply continue to be worked on, and then resubmit it again the next year, and just continue to do that same process. Basically, pick whichever one is furthest along and most planned, and most thoroughly thought out at any given year.
I know that there's been a lot of stress about how 2021 is going to be kind of cutting it close, but does the reuse of the theme help the theme team at all?
It probably will help a little, but more so the thing that's going to help is the fact that that team is independent of the 2020 theme. So there's no shared people between the 2020 theme and the 2021 theme. And then on top of that, 2021 theme is expanding and doing a sequel to what they did in 2019. And the main reason they're doing that is because there was a lot of concepts and ideas that they had come up with that they didn't get an opportunity to even put in. So yeah, there's still a lot of creativity left in that particular theme and that particular team, and we want to give them a chance to have that play out before moving on to something new.
That's good. I guess they got a year change. Separate team.
Yep. Exactly. So, and I think they're already starting to work on it a little bit right now. my ultimate goal is for themes to be planned 2 years in advance, and so that and teams decided 2 years in advance, and that's why I want to start talking over these next coming meetings for the next few months. Start talking about a theme selection process and starting to let people propose ideas for what they would be interested in doing in 22. So that way there's lots of time to get stuff planned. Overall, I think this date move is certainly awkward, and it's certainly making things more complicated, but it could be a lot worse than what we've been subjected to. I think we really have largely lucked out. Still no questions in the YouTube chat, I assume? It depends on where Memorial Day lands. It's always going to be one weekend after Memorial. It won't be on Memorial Day proper. We can't afford that weekend. That's a weekend where they get a lot of business already. There's no way we could afford hotel rooms that weekend, so it'll have to be the one after that.
Okay, and that's taking effect 2021, not 2022, right?
That would be for 2021 and onward.
Okay,
So
cool, gotcha.
That the goal is for that to be the permanent date for the con. Finally having a permanent date.
Hopefully that answers your question, Striker Husky.
On the subject of themes tied to other cons, the other con that was going to share a theme this year, I think is either deferred or it might be deferred for an entire year. It was going to be Anthro Ohio, and I think that recently announced a deferment. Let me go look that up real quick.
Yeah, I think they just recently postponed. I didn't see a date mentioned the last time they put that announcement out.
They are canceled.
Okay, so they have no information yet about a 2021 date. So it looks like they were unable to defer. I would assume that they would take whatever work they've done for this year's theme and just do it in 2021 instead, presumably, which might be the boat we're in too, depending on whether another outbreak happens or whether this outbreak takes that long to get under control.
It better not. I have an Australia trip riding on this crap being over by the end of September.
So we'll see what happens. It's like all we can do is be hopeful and have plans for contingencies and have contingency plans.
Wild, that's a bad theme.
Okay, so I think that pretty much concludes this. We can probably go ahead and tell everybody thanks for coming. Sorry that there was kind of awkward silence here and there. We're still trying to figure out how to make this make sense and not end up with everybody talking all at once. And on the subject of everybody talking all at once, feel free to jump over to the other chat here in Discord. I'm going to go over there for a little while, and then we can all just talk openly. That should be that's called the lounge channel rather than the meeting hall voice channel. And Josie, if you could kindly conclude the YouTube stream, I will be over in the lounge channel in Discord for any further questions. Thanks, everybody, and I hope to see you all again soon.
Stay safe, everybody.
Sounds good. We also have side channels for one-on-one conversations, so that's also available.